Ahead on Frontiers, we travel back in time 20 years to the day a 16-year-old took a gun to school.
I said, "Give me the gun." And that's when he said, "Do you really want this gun?"
Do you remember that she stood in the hallway trying to take the gun away from you?
Yes, I remember everything about my crime.
A crime that took 2 lives at the Bethel High School.
What matters, that it doesn't happen again.
Ahead, lessons still to be learned from Alaska's first and only school shooting.
Sponsorship for Frontiers with Rhonda McBride is provided by your local Alaska Toyota dealers. Toyota, let's go places. Alaska, where there are old triumphs, but also new frontiers. With challenges as great as the state itself, but a belief the best is yet to come. Bringing you the faces, the places, and the spirit of the last frontier. This is Frontiers with Rhonda McBride.
Welcome to Frontiers. Before we begin, a warning. We are about to tell a painful story that for some might reawaken trauma. With help from KYUK and CBS's 60 Minutes, we revisit a school shooting in Bethel that took place 20 years ago this month, a crime soon overshadowed by similar tragedies across the nation. Bethel in many ways seems much like it was 20 years ago. When school buses bring kids home, they still rush outside to play. Bethel has grown to more than 6,000 people, and some good things have happened. The town now has a new recreation center, enjoyed by a generation of kids born long after the shooting. But some in town still look back.
It's surprising that it ever happened out here in a place like this.
I just know that we were all shocked that this could happen here in Bethel.
Never even knew there could be such a thing as a school shooting.
The one thing I really remember is the look on the kids' faces. I suppose group shock would be one way of describing it.
Those who lived in Bethel in 1997 remember exactly where they were and exactly what they were doing when they first heard about the shooting. So where was I 20 years ago? Right here at KYUK, Bethel's public radio and TV station, where I worked as a reporter. My home video camera captured the first footage of the tragedy. Ron Edwards, the principal, was carried out on a stretcher, and another student, Josh Palacios, was already at the hospital. Both would not survive their wounds at the hands of Evan Ramsey, a 16-year-old who came to school that morning with a 12-gauge shotgun and opened fire in the lobby. Several other students were also injured.
Everything is very raw.
That evening, KYUK aired a live special on the Rural Television Network.
The other student that was seriously wounded has died.
Josh Palacios was pronounced dead as the show was in progress, and a chilling revelation followed.
I knew Evan very well.
A student told reporter Jay Barrett she had missed a phone call from Evan Ramsey the night before the shooting.
And he only calls me when there's something wrong, so I knew that there was something wrong. So I came to school, and one of my friends said, "Look, Melissa, we've got to go up to the library." And I asked her why. And she said, "Because something really bad's going to happen." And I go, "Why?"
Ramsey had apparently warned friends to stay away from the high school lobby that morning. The story made national headlines, and that night, an Associated Press reporter explained why.
This story hits universal themes, which things like violence, senseless violence, teen violence, senseless death, and especially when tragedies like this happen in rural areas, Americans like to, well, they're interested in it because we still think of ourselves as a rural nation.
Other tragedies like Columbine in 1999 followed.
Evan Ramsey walked into his school in Bethel, Alaska.
CBS's 60 Minutes looked at similarities and interviewed Evan Ramsey.
He spent hours every day playing the violent video game Doom. The same video game that was also said to be a source of fascination for Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, the two suspects in the Colorado shooting, as well as 14-year-old Michael Carneal, who opened fire in Paducah, Kentucky.
When CBS's Carol Maureen interviewed Evan Ramsey, she asked about another thread in the shootings.
My main objective of going into the high school was to check out.
To check out?
Yeah, to commit suicide.
Evan Ramsey's case had one big difference. His father, Don, had committed a similar crime. In 1986, he stormed the Anchorage Times newspaper to protest the publisher's decision to pull a political attack ad.
I was armed and ready to go to war. I had a AR-180 223 semi-auto, something like 180 rounds of ammo for it.
Ramsey was subdued before anyone was hurt, went to prison, and was released just days before his son launched his own attack.
Nobody will really remember me. There'll be other people that will commit other offenses, and I'll be considered yesterday's news.
Evan Ramsey says before his attack on the school, he didn't know that his father had staged a similar shootout and that both had planned to commit suicide. Don Ramsey died in 2005, worried about how his son would handle prison life.
Evan Ramsey is no longer a skinny kid with pimples on his face. At 36, his hair has streaks of gray, a reminder he's been in jail for more than half his life.
What started it all?
My mistreatment in school.
Ramsey says people called him names, spit on him, and threw trash at him.
It gradually increased to people putting notes on my back, say kick me, and somebody else kicking me.
But how did you choose such an extreme way to express your anger?
I know this sounds really terrible, but it just happened. I came home from school one day and I threw the book bag that I carried with myself in high school. I threw it against the wall, and it happened to be the same wall that the shotgun was on.
A hunting gun that two friends, Matthew Charles and James Randall, taught him to use.
I had a plan of action. I was 100% sure that when I was in high school, after firing the gun, that the students and everybody would sit down and be still and listen to me. Again, an example of a child's mind. I actually thought they were going to sit there and listen to me.
Now, Evan is sorry. He says high school was just a few years. If only he could have kept his anger in check.
Okay, right there.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The years have gone by fast for Tiffany Gwynn.
9, 10.
Josh is here, and Evan is here.
She was once in Evan Ramsey's circle of friends.
What was the commonality in that circle of friends?
If I had to pick a word, I would call us the weirdos.
And Evan, she says, was a friend she could always count on.
He was a little goofy like all of us, and I remember him being really empathic almost.
But Tiffany remembers the teasing, how Evan was called Screech after a geek in the sitcom Saved by the Bell.
Screech! Hi, Dad!
Yes! Tiffany remembers how much the name hurt Evan, as well as being picked on for being an Alaska native.
Like that's a bad thing. Like that's, because you're that, then clearly you must be poorer, or you're in the foster care system, or you're, you eat nothing but fish, and therefore you're lesser for that. I thought was just cruel.
After Evan's dad went to prison, his mother's drinking got worse. She's pictured here with two of Evan's brothers, both named William, from two different fathers. The Ramsey children wound up in some abusive foster homes, and in one case forced to accept golden showers.
The same boy who peed in our mouth would wake both of us up, pinching our face and our neck with his nails.
Things improved for Evan when Sue Hare, the school superintendent, became his legal guardian. But by then, Ramsey had become a ticking time bomb.
I don't know who came to the school that day, but it wasn't my friend. It wasn't Evan. And I think whoever that person was that came must have killed him too.
But there is something of the old Evan still alive.
Who is the person, alive or dead, that you love most in all the world?
My mother.
A mother he believed was good at heart, and when she died, it was then he truly understood the magnitude of what he had done.
There is one thing that my mother told me in one of the last conversations that we had, which was to be good and be nice to people. And I've made a serious attempt at trying that. And in this environment, it's tough a lot of times.
The two boys who helped Evan Ramsey plan the attack served a few years in prison. Ramsey will be eligible for parole when he's 82. He says visitors are rare and none of his former classmates visit him. Up next, sometimes a mother's love, no matter how strong, isn't enough to protect a child.
The prison is in my mind, and this is where I live, and this is where I live every day.
Ahead, the loss of a son and the questions that live on.
Toyota's President's Day sales event. And right now, you can get 0% APR financing or up to $2,500 cash back on 10 of our top-selling models. For details, shop online or see Kendall Toyota of Anchorage. Toyota, let's go places.
Every spring, I like to go through my fishing gear. Wouldn't want to miss that first run of reds. Every fall, I get my snow tires put on. Don't want to be sliding around. Every January, I sign up for my PFD. Don't want to miss that check. And every year, right around my birthday, I make an appointment that's just for me. I call my doctor and I schedule my yearly checkup. Don't want any surprises.
Make an annual appointment a part of your routine. Take charge of your health. Take charge of your life.
I was diagnosed with Kawasaki disease. I was 2 years old when I had it, and I couldn't walk.
There's a lot of kids that weren't as lucky as her. So thank you for the support. Thank you for everything. They don't know what such a small thing can do. So it's amazing.
Now, when this fire roared to life yesterday around 1 p.m., it took a lot of people by surprise. That's where I like to be. I like to be where things are happening, where people are. That's just how I am. I just don't want to sit around behind a desk. I mean, I think it's important to actually be out there telling the stories from where the stories are happening. We're about exceptional journalism, and I think we've really proved that. I think we're working hard every single day to achieve that, and that's what you're going to get.
Claudia Palacios moved her family from Dallas to Bethel because she wanted to get away from gangs and violence. She thought her children would be safe.
Not long after an ambulance carried Josh Palacios up this hospital emergency ramp, his life ended. And for his mother, Claudia,
did you find the application stuff easy?
The healing goes on. Today, she manages the hospital's registration desk, a job she enjoys because she lives to help others.
This little girl came to live with me when she was 6 months old.
Claudia Palacios is a foster mother many times over.
Joshua, Erica.
Her son, Josh, liked to bring kids in need of love to their home, and she wishes Evan Ramsey had been one of them.
I live in my faith, and my faith is kind of what keeps me sane, and, you know, God wants me to help others, and there was a part of me that just had to forgive him.
Forgive, yes, but not forget. Claudia once hoped to visit Evan Ramsey in prison.
I visualize my arms around him and those tears being real hard, you know, and him feeling that pain from me if he was that close to me.
But after 20 years, she wonders what they would have to say to each other.
I wanted to know why. You know, that was like the question you ask, you know, all these years. Why me? Why Josh? Why?
Do you have an answer for the why?
No. No.
Does it matter?
No. When I was asking the question, I thought it mattered, but it doesn't matter.
What matters?
What matters? That it doesn't happen again.
To this day, Claudia cannot bring herself to visit the Bethel High School to see the memorial in the lobby with portraits of Ron Edwards and her son Josh.
I see people wearing warrior colors and a warrior cap, and Josh so loved, you know, the game, and yeah, it's painful. It's just really painful. Who's really in prison? Evan Ramsey or me?
One consolation, Josh's little brother, Corey.
There they are again, Raul, Corey and Buddy.
Corey grew up to be a nurse and cares for his brother's best friend, Buddy, who not long after the school shooting lost the use of his arms and legs in a snow machine accident.
I think Buddy is Corey's brother, you know, because Josh is not here. And I think as a result of that relationship, it's Corey's duty to help Buddy.
Kindness and compassion, light to the darkness that gripped this town 20 years ago. Up next, how teachers have come to terms with the tragedy. But first, an update on the Ron Edwards family who moved out of state after the shootings. His wife Cindy wrote us to let everyone know they're doing okay.
I just want cremation.
Cremation specialist in Alaska.
Can I have a service before cremation?
Our staff is committed to serving your needs.
I just want something basic. The simpler, the better.
Specializing in simple cremations. Whatever your reasons are for choosing cremation, call Cremation Society of Alaska, 277-2777, or in the Valley, 373-8627, and on the web at alaskacremation.com.
Good morning, I'm Megan Mazurek.
And I'm James Gaddis.
Well, I came to Alaska to fulfill my dream of finally working on a morning show. It's the one thing I want to do. When I got here, it was just a man and his dog. Now I've got a few more priorities, a few more responsibilities. Life has changed for the best in ways that I never imagined. I knew this would be, one of those trips, one of those life-changing ventures coming up here, but I didn't think it would be anything as fulfilling as this.
I've got a job to do today.
I've got a job to do today.
Have a good first day at work, Mom.
Your donations to Goodwill fund job training programs right in your community.
Feels good to start fresh, right?
Sure does. And like that, you're a job creator.
What is health? It's more than a number on the scale. It's in the water we drink and the air we breathe. It's reflected in our jobs, our climate, and our community. Our health is holistic. Our health care should be the same. At ANTHC, we're providing clean water and sanitation around the state. We're working in partnership to make homes safer, healthcare treatment smarter, and fulfill our vision that Alaska Native people are the healthiest people in the world.
Hans Halverson was one of the students in the lobby who saw Evan Ramsey shoot Josh Palacios in the stomach. He taught himself to play the fiddle as a way to heal from the trauma. Halverson says he drank a lot of alcohol to cope, a problem that's taken years to turn around.
I think I'm really lucky to still be alive after 20 years.
And teachers have also had to work hard to find peace.
I'm going to measure this outside edge right here.
Not long after the shooting, Renee Athanas retired from teaching art at the high school.
I'm going to open one time in the middle.
Now she shapes pottery instead of students, a similar process.
There's lots of opportunities to make things turn out right.
But lots we can't control, as in the case of Evan Ramsey.
He got the clay with lots of rocks in it. He got the shaping of hands that weren't so gentle.
In her art class, Renee tried to help Evan reshape his life, and he seemed to do well for a while. But days before the shooting, she tried to warn administrators something was terribly wrong.
There were probably 50 kids in this area.
After Ramsey wounded Josh Palacios and the principal, she tried to talk him out of the gun.
You're standing approximately where Evan was. He was moving, and I said, "Give me the gun." And when I said that one time, he pointed it at me. And that's when he said, "Do you really want this gun?"
While Renee dealt with Evan, Nancy Elliott, a special ed teacher, dragged the principal, Ron Edwards, into an office.
I laid Ron down and I was applying pressure to his wound, and he had told me, he goes, "Keep me on my side."
The principal's wife, who also worked at the school, was trapped in the room next door.
I was just trying to tell her that he's going to be okay. He's going to be okay. We're going to work through this.
And in the midst of the chaos,
I think there were like 10 or so kids up there.
Kids upstairs in a balcony, which has since been closed off. Kids that were told,
"Make sure you're up there. There'll be a good show."
But the kids kept it secret. In fact, 2 boys helped Ramsey draw up a hit list. So who knows how many more might have died had teachers and police not responded so quickly.
I didn't think Evan was evil.
In a million years, I would have never thought it would have been Evan.
Both teachers believe some things are better today, that kids are more aware about the consequences of bullying and know enough to take threats seriously. After the shooting, the message was, remember those lost, not by the way we grieve, but by the way we live.
3267 is your next lucky ticket.
Nancy Elliott, who has also retired from teaching, took that to heart.
Don't forget about these guys.
Today, she raises money at the bingo hall to rescue stray dogs.
There are about 8 different times that you can really screw up. Don't give up. Don't give up. No matter how bad it might seem.
A different world has taken shape since the Bethel school shootings, a world that might look to this little town on the tundra for answers.
Joining us now, Billy Strickland, who was the basketball coach for the Warriors 20 years ago. Now he's head of the Alaska School Activities Association. Sort of a related job, but what were you doing the day of the shooting?
That morning, Mr. Edwards had asked me to go around and get an inventory of all the computers that were on various teachers' desks. We didn't have a lot back then, so I was in the process of going around doing some inventory when I heard the first shot.
And were you amazed to see how people were responding?
Initially I thought it was a balloon being popped, and so I was going to go to the lobby and grab the the culprit and take him to the dean's office or something, and turned the corner and saw Evan with the gun. And at that point, I realized what was going on, and students were fleeing, and we kind of ran into an office, or not an office, but a classroom that I had the keys to open. So.
Lots of close calls that day. We have a picture that we'd like to share of a reunion of a group of Bethel students. You were there. There we see Raul Sanchez, and then we also have a photo of Buddy Cooch there. And Buddy Cooch was one of the kids who, after this shooting, wound up becoming a paraplegic in a separate accident. But, you know, Raul has an amazing story. Can you share that with us?
Well, it's my understanding that when Josh was shot, you know, he immediately fell on the floor, and Raul, you know, never fled the lobby. Pretty much stayed right at Josh's side up until the, you know, that the police arrived and Josh was taken with, you know, by the paramedics.
You know, here we have some footage of you 20 years ago with Renee Athanas and Nancy Elliott. There's Nancy. Of course, these women have gray hair today. We're all a lot older. In this footage, you were talking about what you thought needed to be done, doing a lot of soul searching. Do you still feel the same way today about what happened?
You know, I think over time, you think about maybe what could have been done differently and so forth, and I think the school and schools probably across the nation are a lot more proactive in trying to build better relationships with all the kids in the building and so forth. But you know, the reality of it is schools are still very susceptible to these kinds of events.
So the lessons learned, we need to keep learning and stay vigilant.
Yeah, I think the lesson really learned is that generally students know something's going to go on, and if we can have those relationships that those other students are comfortable enough coming forward, that's probably our best deterrent.
All right, well, we want to thank you very much, Billy Strickland. And if this program has awakened trauma for you, here's how to get help. Dial 211 or visit alaska211.org. Well, it has been a tough subject to tackle, so we leave you now with a song from Hans Halverson and Jerry Johns.
When I